And to make things even better, we'll give you a 45-day money-back guarantee. Skip the doctor and get hearing aids delivered straight to your door. Join over 300,000 people just like you who took advantage of our 45-day trial offer. You can hear better too for just 10 cents a day. Call now and order your $99 pair of Audion hearing aids with a 45-day money-back guarantee. Plus, get free 3 to 5 day shipping.
800-226-1471. 800-226-1471. That's 800-226-1471.
Olympic sponsorships cost a pretty penny, but they are worth their weight in good qualities. This according to new research from brand consultancy group BAV, which found that official partners of the Olympic and Paralympic Games observed a 117% increase in association with Olympic traits, such as authenticity, prestige, and daring. BAV also found that official sponsors secured a 49% increase in esteem and loyalty, as well as 39% more relevance than their competitors. Question: which major Olympic sponsor are you least likely to support? Coca-Cola, Nike, or Visa?
For me, probably Nike, for a number of reasons. Some of them I don't need to get into the specifics of. Let's just say we have ideological differences. But more than that, I'm not a shoe head. I'm not an apparel guy. If I can go ahead and buy my whole wardrobe at Goodwill or Salvation Army, I'll do it. You know, clothes, apparel, sneakers, that's just not what I like to spend money on. So I'm just not their consumer, whether it's Nike, Converse, Adidas, whoever. Anything that you've heard of as far as a clothing or shoe or apparel brand, I don't purchase because that's just not how I am. I am a total bargain basement discount shopping connoisseur when it comes to clothing. The only exceptions to that are I do like American Eagle jeans and shirts. And if I'm buying dress clothes, there's a store in the Galleria here, Via Roma, that I like going to. But they're even like a discount of sorts store for that type of formal wear, for men's formal wear. So I don't know if that even counts as an exception. But certainly American Eagle is my one major exception. But I can't tell you the last time I spent more than $50 on a pair of shoes. Oh, I actually, that's a lie. I can. When I was, I guess, in college, or maybe just before college or just after, for a period of about 4 or 5 years, I was into buying shoes that were $100, $120, $130, which was kind of close to top of the line back then. But, that was a short-lived fad. And generally speaking, I've just always been I don't need to spend big money on that stuff. Visa, you almost can't avoid whether you want to or not. And Coca-Cola, they own a lot of things that you don't realize they own. I don't really drink Coke ever. I'm not really a soda drinker, but they probably own, they own a bunch of stuff. I think they own Snapple, for example, which I do drink occasionally. They probably own some of the flavored seltzer waters. They're one of those companies that owns more than you realize because it's not under their name publicly. So I think the latter two, particularly Visa, I don't think is really avoidable. It's almost a utility, but Coke is probably hard, but not impossible to avoid. You'd have to just make a conscious effort. Nike, for me, any major apparel company just isn't there. And, it's interesting, though, with that sort of baseline answer sort of addressed, I want to kind of go into sort of the setup of the question, this whole idea of Olympic sponsorship yielding positive brand association. That, to be honest with you, kind of surprises me. But I guess in another way it doesn't. So let me explain my thought process. So the reason it surprises me is you assume that the Olympics are consumed heavily by sports fans. And because sports fans as a lot generally enjoy being sports fans after they've been one for a while because they know what's going on, they know the players, they know some of the history, they know the teams, they know the game, they know the strategies, like being knowledgeable it's like a positive feedback loop. The more knowledgeable and plugged in you get, the more you crave. But when you go with the Olympics, other than, let's say the basketball, because they're all the NBA players that if you follow sports, you likely know. Other than that, you don't know who these athletes are. Like even the more popular events, let's say the 100 meter sprint, or any other track, a shot put, whatever, any other track and field event. You don't know these people. Every once in a while, there'll be a Usain Bolt or someone like that. But for the most part, these are anonymous athletes. You certainly don't know, the luge guys, right? I mean, so I would think that you would be more likely to gain brand credibility among that group of people by sponsoring football games, baseball games, basketball games, hockey games, that kind of thing. And maybe you do. I mean, we didn't do a compare and contrast here. But then the flip side of that, the other side of my mind says, well, in the broader sense, the broader audience, I've always said this, the Olympics is sports for non-sports fans. Who gets most into the Olympics? When the Olympics comes around every few years, whether it's the summer or the winter Olympics, it doesn't matter. Who in your circle talks about it the most? It's probably your mom, it's probably your grandmother, it's probably your aunt, it's probably your wife's friend, it's probably, the guy that you know from work who doesn't follow sports. That's the group that gets into it because it's sports for non-sports fans, because they don't have that pre-existing knowledge. They don't feel that they're missing anything when they turn it on. Of course, it's wrapped in patriotism and pageantry and tradition, which appeals to a lot of people, a broad section of society, and they get kind of swept up in the moment. You have the ceremonial aspect of it with the torch lighting and all the songs and the flags and all that. And because they don't know regular sports, they don't feel out of place or that they're missing something. See, as a sports fan, when you go and watch a sporting event, you don't know the athletes, you feel like you're going outside naked, right? I mean, I know I do. I was like, I'm missing something here. But if you don't follow sports to begin with, then you don't have that problem. So I think that from that perspective, I understand how and why you would have a bump in brand credibility, because these are a fresh audience that doesn't normally watch sports, and there's a lot of them probably because it's a broader audience. It's not a sports audience necessarily. So that's an interesting study. See, one of the things about me is, in addition to loving the games themselves and loving conversation and loving athletics, I also really like the business of media. I love the trying to figure out what sells, what doesn't, how to put an ad together, how to reach certain groups of people. I love all that stuff. So a question like this really piques my intellectual curiosity in a way that, maybe I'm a little nerdy. And yeah, hey, we're all nerdy about something, right? All of us have something that we're like, maybe we're over the top nerdy about, right? That's just the way it is. And this is one of my things. I love marketing and advertising. I think it's fascinating. I think it's complex. I think it's interesting. And hey, that's just the way it is. We got a lot to get to. Let me get you set up. So coming up next, we have Jason Moore, the 14U coach for the OC Bombers. After that, we're going to have Scott Seabury. He is the 9U coach for the OC Smash. And later on in hour 2, we have Anthony Soto, who is the 16U coach for the OC Bombers. So a lot of Bombers, some Smash in there today as well. We'll get to the top 5. We're going to break down some of these NBA games. Yankees put a clobbering on Minnesota yesterday. We'll talk about that. A lot more to get to. Gary Ayd Show rolls on. Up next is the Jason Moore interview here on The Cave.
Are you like me? You have health insurance, but you don't have dental insurance. Do you need to get to the dentist right away? Maybe you need an implant or some other major service. Well, I found a dental insurance plan that's just right for you. It's called Spirit Dental. Spirit Dental offers a $100 lifetime deductible, a huge network of dentists. And here's the best part. There's no waiting periods. Yeah, that means you can call right now and have real dental insurance for you and your family tomorrow and get that immediate coverage you want. Spirit Dental has plans for just a few dollars a day, up to $5,000 annual maximum, and coverage for implants. Whatever age you are, the dental insurance you need is a free phone call away. Now don't wait, and be sure to ask about Spirit's vision plan. Here's the number: 800-631-9229. 800-631-9229. That's 800-631-9229.
Hey friend, life happens and you need money. What do? You call the special toll-free number we're about to give you. We will send you a link to your phone with details on how you can loan up to $5,000. Couldn't you use $5,000 to pay for your rent, pay grocery bills, get your car repaired, or whatever you need? It's up to you. We don't care. We're just here to lend you the money. And we'll lend people money with good, bad, or no credit at all. Of course, some terms and conditions apply, and you'll see those on the link we're going to send you. So if you need up to $5,000 maybe as soon as the next business day, call this number right now. We will text you a free link with details.
Paid for by Money Mutual. Call 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. That's 800-586-7112.
Alrighty, welcome into the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave. It's great to welcome in Jason Moore, the head coach of the 14U OC Bombers squad. They get their season going this weekend. What's up, Jason? How's it going?
Hey, how are you?
Good. It's great to have you on. Where are you guys playing this weekend?
So this weekend we have a little bit of a tune-up or maybe a mid-spring session here at Further Ropes in Chester. So nearby.
Yes, so nice and close. Do they still have that those like hot dog food carts and those kosher sandwich food carts over there?
I think so. Yeah. We hadn't been there since last year.
Oh, I love those things.
It'd be good to get out there and be back.
No, that's cool. Now, how many games are you expecting to play? Scrimmages, whatever.
So we have 3 on Saturday,
okay,
which is typical, and then it's you play till you lose on Sunday. So we're hoping to have a really good Sunday on Championship Sunday is what we call it.
That's really cool. Now, what's the team looking like this year?
So this year we had a really, really good fall. We had a couple tournaments in the winter, again, just to check in, where we saw really good talent. So we took it as just that. And we played some A teams and we competed, some close games, but certainly we're excited to be out there this spring, starting next week or this weekend, I should say.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, what type of practice time has been had prior to the start of a season, typically in an organization like this? Like how soon do you guys really get working?
Sure. So this weekend's pretty unique. Most of our kids play school ball. Actually, all the kids on the 14U team or my 14U team play school ball. So they had started a few weeks ago with their own practices and games. So certainly 14U is really the age group that they start to play more and more school ball at the modified JV and even varsity level. So really, this, like I said, this weekend is a check-in. Our first time being together in a few weeks. So we have not been able to have practices because of they're typically on the field 5 to 6 days with their school teams.
I tell you, that's interesting. Now, what's your own experience with the Bombers? How long have you been coaching here?
I've been with the Bombers. This is my 8th season.
Oh man.
So this is actually the second team that I've coached. I was assistant coach for many years for what is now the 16U team, 16U Bombers. And then 2 years ago, took over the then first year 12U team, which is now the 14U team. So been coaching at least one team for the Bombers for 8 years, most at the assistant level, and certainly the last couple of years as head coach of the 14U.
That's really cool. Now, did you have a background as a softball or baseball player at one point in your life, or like what got you into coaching in the first place?
Yeah, so I grew up and certainly played through high school and was fortunate enough to play 4 years of college baseball. So even from the day I graduated college baseball, I was set to stay on and be a graduate assistant for the same team that I played for. And then I changed plans and went to get a job. And then I was a winter hitting clinic instructor for 10 years following graduation. So I've always been around the game in some manner. And certainly those winter sessions for those 10 years was both baseball and softball. So really my first experience as a coach with softball players. And I could say even from then at a much younger age, training girls is way easier, I think, to be honest with you. You get their attention and full attention at an earlier age. They're very thoughtful and logical and retain a lot more from my experience from younger boys. So I guess, and then I was fortunate enough to have 3 daughters myself. So that's what really solidified my involvement in softball.
That's really cool. Have you coached your daughters through the years?
So yeah, I've been coaching actually all of them since they started playing. So two officially, my oldest is on the 16U now, and my middle is on the 14U. My youngest is on the 12U bomber. So I have 3 bombers at home myself. So right now I'm not, I'm just the dad coach for the youngest one, the 12U.
Yeah. How is that? How do you balance being dad with being coach at the same time? That's everyone that has the opportunity to do that kind of has a different story, a different approach to that. What's yours?
So I think it varies by age. Probably the same as anything at home, right? Is they spend some time in the earlier years looking up to you, and then at some point they start to get their own opinions, and then certainly if they're playing well, everything is great. If they're struggling, you tend as a dad not to know as much as you did just the other day when they were succeeding. It's a lot with growth and attitude, like any other athlete, I'm sure. But yeah, it's very similar to just normal being a teenager.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. I played a lot of basketball growing up, and one of the things that I got into was sports history quite a bit. And Pete Maravich, his father, Press, like they had a real interesting coach father-son relationship. It was almost a codependency. There was a documentary about it. It was very, very interesting. And it got me interested in this topic of coaching your children at an early age, long before I was of age to have kids. I mean, I saw this when I was probably 13 or so. And so it just always fascinates me as an adult now, having conversations like this, because that must be just like a unique combination of frustration, pride, and just a balancing act.
Oh yeah, it is. And certainly when my own kids are, like I said, struggling, I take a little bit more heat for it. Sometimes even now at the later ages, they'll give a check in and say, hey, what do you see? What am I doing wrong? So there's still that. But yeah, it's been an interesting go for all 3 of my kids.
Yeah, that's really cool. Last couple of things here. With the games coming up, has there been a place or a facility that you or your teams have gotten to go to that was particularly memorable during your time with the Bombers? Like a particular road trip?
Yeah. So certainly we do a lot of travel and play at a lot of places, but the one that stands out to me in 2018 with my when I was assistant coach and my oldest daughter, they were 10U at the time, second year 10U team, and we went out to Kentucky and played in the Nationals tournament out there. And really none of us had ever been to Kentucky, so we didn't know what to expect. And the facility out there was amazing, well-run tournament. And then we played a little come from behind and got real hot and ended up winning that tournament at 10U. So certainly exciting and something we never expected. We just wanted to go out there and compete. But we got rolling. We took our lumps early on in the tournament and then turned it around when it mattered. So super exciting at a very young age, and really set the tone, I think, for all those players on that team. Is now they're all doing really successful things, both in school and travel ball.
And you said this was in Kentucky?
Yes. Where were we? Elizabethtown, Kentucky.
Wow. No kidding. And what age group was it at that time?
That was second year 10U team. 10U. And we had a bunch of success back east that same summer. I think we had won 7 tournaments in a row. So we went out there, again, not knowing. We certainly had our successes back here, winning all those tournaments in a row. So I think it was good timing to really put us to the test to see, are we that good? Were we at that time? And it was fun. It was really fun.
That's really, really cool. Well, hey, best of luck this season. Good luck this weekend in particular. And maybe we'll talk to you down the line.
Awesome. Yeah, we're excited, and it's going to be fun to get out there and back together again after a few weeks off from each other and hear some success stories about how they're all doing in school. I try to get to as many school ball games as I can, and certainly it's nice on this little break to go watch, all the players that we train all year long and see them in their own successes and see other coaches come to that same conclusion about our Bombers players. They're pretty good. They're pretty good, and they have their successes there. So it's nice to have that secondary evaluation from school ball coaches as, there are players.
Right. So do you, I guess I'll ask you that real quick on the way out. Do you often get other coaching feedback on like the quality of the Bomber players or anything of that nature?
Not specifically, but when, we go to these games, and especially school ball games, and, we know all our players, but when they're still wearing their Bomber hats, for school and they're batting, in the heart of the order and they're having successes, it's really fun to watch. So I don't think we really need specific feedback, as the feedback is, the value in our players and what they're able to contribute on the field.
Understood. All right. Well, best of luck, Jason. Have a good week.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks. That's Jason Moore. This is the Gary Ayd Show. Back after this here on The Cave.
Coffee Lovers Middletown is now officially home to the home run of our favorite beverage, Days Coffee. Days' patented blend contains approximately 85% less caffeine than other coffees, which makes it better for you, yet unlike decaf coffee, still gives you that great pickup and tastes amazing. Formulated by a retired cancer pathologist, Dr. Grant Lee, Days Coffee is fermented with a patented enzyme that until now required a complex and thus expensive sourcing and production process. With Dr. Lee's formulation, this enzyme's great health benefits can now be brought to your cup quicker, easier, and cheaper than ever before. Here's how you get a hold of this game-changing cup of joe. Go over to radioonlydeals.com and get a $4 gift certificate to Days Coffee for just $2. That's radioonlydeals.com to buy your single-use digital gift certificate for Days Coffee. Radioonlydeals.com. That's radioonlydeals.com. Enjoy the preferred coffee of the Gary Ayd Show. Enjoy Days Coffee.
All righty. Welcome back to the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave, cavetalkradio.com and the Cave Talk Radio app. And it was good hearing from Jason Moore, the 14U coach of the OC Bombers. Now my guest joining me now is Scott Seabury of the 9U OC Smash, also coaches at NFA. What's going on, Scott? How's it going?
Hey, how you doing, Gary? Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Thanks for being here. And you guys got to play in Westchester last week. Yorktown came out victorious. How was that whole trip and experience for the team?
Yeah, the kids played real well. We got a lot of kids work in the game. It's still early in the year, so we're getting all the kids in at different positions and throwing them all over the place and letting them get as much experience as possible. So it was a good win.
That's awesome. Now, at that young age, obviously, there's a lot of, teaching that goes on. And I imagine also a little bit of police work. Generally speaking, how do you find these road trips to be when you're corralling a bunch of 9 and 8-year-olds?
Yeah. Our parents are fantastic. They're very flexible. They get the kids where they need to be. We always have a pretty full roster. We have a couple misses here and there, but we've had the same kids for the last couple of years now. So we've kind of grown together as a family, and it shows out on the field. The kids play real well together. It's a fun experience for everybody.
Yeah, that's really cool. Now, how long have you been involved with the Smash?
So this is year number 3. We started as a 7U team, and now we're 9U.
So you followed the same kids up so far, more or less.
Yeah. Yep. We've had, like I said, we've had most of these kids since they were 7. When we were 7, we played the lowest level of the 8U bracket, and we actually came out on top. We were the champions of the 8U bracket. So these kids have had quite an experience. We were also summer champions last year also. So we got a little bit of a championship to follow. So big shoes to fill, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's a fact. Now, one thing, bear with me with a kind of a weird analogy here, but one thing that I think your situation is a little unique. I remember when I was going through college, I used to work at a truck company in Montgomery, and I operated a forklift. And one of the things you always do when you operate a forklift is you want to keep your blades elevated enough that they're not going to nick something on the ground and send you tumbling, but you also want to keep them low enough that you're not going to like impale something or someone.
Yeah.
So, but when I would get out in my car after driving a forklift all day, I would feel like weird, like I'm like supposed to lower my blades, but of course I'm in my car. And I'm just curious with you going from coaching 7, 8, 9-year-olds, and then your other job coaching the high school team. Do you feel like you're going from a forklift to a car, so to speak? Sometimes, like, how do you flip that switch?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, sometimes it definitely is a different hat. I try to actually teach the young kids as much as I can. I'll throw it at them and hopefully it sticks. And honestly, our kids have done a real good job of learning and getting better. And, some of the drills I use even with the high school team, I'll use with the younger kids too. And they handle it real well. And, if I have to scale it back, I scale it back. But it helps me being a teacher also. I teach kids all day that are different ages. So different hats, different problems will come up, but deal with them as we go. But it's like I said, it's definitely a different hat. And I know right where you're going with that analogy.
Yeah. Because it used to and I always used to think, man, if I feel that way, how do the guys that drive the big rigs feel when they get in like a Subaru after driving an 18-wheeler all day? That's gotta be crazy. Now, you mentioned you're a teacher. What subjects do you teach?
I'm a physical education teacher in Newburgh.
Okay, cool. At the high school as well?
No, I'm at a K-8 building.
Oh, okay. So you do. Okay. Got it. Okay. That's cool. Now, as far as the your own history with baseball, I'm just curious, what got you into coaching initially? Did you play growing up, or what's your
I did. I played my whole life. I played through college. I went to Cortland, played there. Had a wonderful experience in my playing days. Was hoping to get drafted at some point. Never came to fruition, but it's something that's been my whole life. So I love giving back. This is what I want to do. I consider myself a coach first. Everything else kind of secondary. So
yeah, that's pretty cool. What's been in your time with the Smash? Has there been a memory or a particular game or tournament or anything that stands out in your mind as like really vivid?
There's been a few. We've had pretty good success with our guys. We won like I said, we won the summer championship back-to-back years now. When they were younger, we won the Father's Day tournament, which, with my son being on the team, that kind of means a little bit extra. So, these kids experiencing the success that they have, it's really good for them. They're proud of it. I'm proud of it. So it's hard to pick just one, but there's definitely been. Last year's championship was nice. I mean, we got a couple pictures of our guys, throwing their gloves in the air, and just seeing the jubilation on the kids' faces is really what it's all about.
No, that is what it's all about. It's really about the kids and the fact that it's cool because organized sports, I think, to this day is probably the best teaching ground for just understanding how to battle through adversity in life. I really believe that.
Yeah. Yep, I agree.
I mean, because especially like, a sport like baseball, where if you're amazing, you fail 7 out of 10 times. That's a fairly that builds mental toughness by necessity.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that. I say that to the guys all the time. You get out 7 out of 10 times, you're in the Hall of Fame.
Right. And it's so true. So last couple of things for you. As you kind of look ahead, when are you guys playing next?
We have a tournament this upcoming weekend.
Okay.
It's actually a Smash hosted tournament. It's at the Yard over there in Warwick.
Okay, the
Hudson Sports Complex.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So we're looking forward to that. We got a lot of games. We're planning on playing 4 games. So it's going to be a lot of baseball for the kids. So we're trying to prepare them and get them ready to go.
That's awesome. Well, hey, best of luck with it, and good luck this season, okay?
Thanks, Gary. Appreciate it.
All right, that's Scott Seabury. This is the Gary Ayd Show. Back after this here on The Cave.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't, and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. That's 800-741-9557. If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. If you administer insulin 3 or more times per day or use an insulin pump, call now and learn how a CGM can help you.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
You can reduce pain right away. Plus, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you spend more time in range. And if you have insurance, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Call now and get free shipping of your new CGM. Plus, we'll bill your insurance for you. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. That's 800-826-5884.
All righty, welcome back to the Gary Ayd Show. Good conversation there with Scott Seabury and Jason Moore of the Smash and Bombers, respectively. Scott most recently there, Jason right before that. I think it's interesting. One of the things Scott said about being a coach first and a teacher, and it's interesting. The two are the same thing. And that was his bigger point, was that they are the same thing. And Vince Lombardi was famous for saying that, for saying whether you're teaching in the classroom or teaching on the football field, it's exactly the same thing. And I think we get too caught up, particularly in football. We get too caught up with the X's and O's, the play designs, the offensive strategies, the defensive strategies, all this nomenclature, all this jargon, that we just forget sometimes. Ultimately, most of coaching, because at the professional level, a lot of the teaching has been done. Not all of it. There's still a healthy amount of teaching that goes on at the professional level, but you have a much closer to finished product, obviously, with professionals than you do at any other previous level. And I think that because professional sports dominates so much of our mind as sports fans, gets so much of our attention, I think we forget that coaching fundamentally is teaching. It really is. And at the levels we're talking here, the youth travel programs and the high school levels, it's all teaching. It's all teaching, mentorship, relational, psychology. That's really what coaching truly is. And, it's one of the advantages you hear constantly with players from the Smash, from the Bombers, parents associated with those organizations, alumni, is the teaching that goes on, the mentorship that goes on. That's really the crux of what youth sports is really. That's where youth sports is at its best. That's where it benefits people the most. That's where the development that we always talk about, the life lessons that we always talk about, that's where it happens. That and the organic outplay of competition. It's hard to miss the lesson of getting proverbially, or in the case of football, sometimes literally smacked in the mouth, right? Like you learn very quickly that way. But also it's the everyday learning, repetition, the modeling after someone that goes on at that younger age. That's where the coaching, aka the teaching, really comes into play. And I always thought that my best teachers in college, my best professors, were explainers. See, I draw a distinction between high school teachers and college professors. And the reason I do that, it's not really the teacher's fault, it's the system's fault. They have to ram down your throat the predetermined garbage that they teach you from kindergarten through 12th grade. It's all the same crap. And after a certain age, I really think you could skip years 8 through 12 and not really miss anything in terms of the actual academic part of the classroom because it's all the same stuff. Once you know your mathematics, once you know uh, proper English, you could always refine English. So there's some refining certainly that can and will and should be done between the years of 9 and 12. But the basics are known by then. And you essentially learn the same stuff over and over again in history class. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I learned that George Washington was the first president. Got to the end in my high school and I was like, oh, no, really? Are you sure? I could have sworn it was someone else. Like you got like, sarcastic about it because it's just like, oh God, come on. The scientific method. I can't tell you how many terms I learned that. Like it gets repetitive. But in college, first of all, it's voluntary to be there. Second of all, you're selecting a major and a field that has direct interest to you, hopefully. And you're learning with the purpose. At least I was learning with a purpose. I was trying to achieve things that some of these professors had achieved professionally before they became teachers. I was trying to get on the air. I was trying to make myself a career in radio, in sports radio. And a lot of these guys that I had, two in particular, Ron Grafe and Jerry Condra, had very successful broadcasting careers in television and radio, not necessarily sports, but they were coming from a place of been there, done that, and more so, and more importantly to me, this was a second career for them, and they treated it as the opportunity to actually explain, teach, show, and really demonstrate how something is done. And they were doing it from the perspective of, I've done it. And another teacher who I won't name, that was a journalism professor, it was absolutely useless because he was a lifelong academic. He had a PhD in whatever he had a PhD in, and he was just teaching out of a textbook, purely theoretical, zero personal experience. I think he like wrote for like the student paper while he was a student. That was it. Like it's just like, you can't having someone like Scott, for example, and a lot of the other coaches with these two organizations that have not only have the heart of teachers and the ability to explain things and the desire to help and teach, but also the experience having done it themselves at a high level. It makes a big difference. It definitely did for me in college, 100%. I got so much out of those 2 years, really because of those two professors and one or two others. I had another David Moody who was very good. He was a professor in the sales area. That's one of the reasons I enjoy that part of the business to this day. It's so important to have real teachers. And that's where sports is at its absolute finest. It really is. And these are two organizations that exemplify it very, very well. Really, it's really important. So anyway, all right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We got hour 2 around the corner. Top 5 is next. We'll talk some Yankees. We might even skip the top 5 today. We'll talk Yankees and Mets. We got 2 NBA games, and we got, of course, our interview with Anthony Soto. That's all coming up in the second hour. It's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave. All righty, we're back here on the Gary Ayd Show here on the Cave. CaveTalkRadio.com and the Cave Talk Radio app. It's great to have you aboard. Gary Ayd here with you. We have Anthony Soto from the OC Bombers joining us in about a half hour. He's the coach of the 16U squad. We got some Yankees and Mets stuff to discuss and a little NBA. So, I was thinking about how we ended hour one. And I was thinking maybe we will do a top five. It's not really sports related. It's more educational related, but it's sports related in the sense that I believe sports is one of the ultimate school classrooms that you could be in. It's one of the very best ways to learn anything. And so I'm going to go ahead and mention my top 5 life lessons I learned in college. Now, these are going to be a mix of things in the classroom and on the field of play, and how I think what we're going to tie this to sports with is how I believe they're relevant lessons to try to learn earlier in life. So let's go ahead and get that done. Here we go. Here's the top 5.
This is the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time for King Talk Radio's Top 5.
Thank you, Jack. So, one of the things I learned in college was I mentioned my 3 biggest influences as far as teachers. And this is all kind of coming from our conversation with Scott Seabury of the Smash. I think learning how to be a professional involves learning preparation. It sounds like a placative, and I guess it is. But with Grafe, we took a class. It was a 5-hour class on Fridays. 4 hours, excuse me. 4 hours or 5 hours? 5 hours. 5-hour class on Fridays. And basically, during that time, you would go out, you would shoot a television package, you would come back, you would edit it, and we did a live, quote unquote live, newscast, half-hour newscast to end the class with what you had produced that day. And so being on time and being prepared was like really, really critical, because we only had about 6 of these for the whole semester. Each one carried a huge part of our grade, almost 20% of our grade, 15, 18% of our grade, something like that. So ultimately, if you weren't prepared for one and you failed one assignment, it was a big deal. So I just remember learning how to do all this stuff and then thinking, this is something you learn in the context of team sports. So if you're a football player, right? Let's say you're a lineman. You learn what type of bad domino effect a missed block by you will have on everyone else who maybe put in all their preparation. There's a level of guilt and not wanting to let the other guy down that is very common in football, maybe more than any other sport, because it's such a machine, right? If the guy pulling misses his block or doesn't get off his man in time, the whole play falls apart. So even if the running back did everything right, the quarterback did everything right, the coach called the right play, even if everyone else did their job perfectly, if you mess up, you've just negated all their hard work, and you feel bad about that. So being prepared and being accountable for others was a big lesson I learned through that broadcasting class that I think is something learned through sports as well. And that's one. Another one is understanding the bigger picture. It kind of relates. So if you're let's say you're an infielder in baseball, okay? If you're an infielder in baseball or softball, and you're shifting into double play depth, right? If you don't know instinctively what base to cover or where to line up, and that play happens, and let's say the second baseman is where they're supposed to be, but the shortstop isn't, now you've caused that same domino effect to fall that we just laid out in football with the missed block. And so it's the same thing. That's where baseball and softball is truly a team sport. Offensively, those sports are essentially one-on-one. They're essentially individual sports. It's the batter versus the pitcher. But where the teamwork comes into play is one of the areas is on defense. Everything about defense is teamwork. If you're a first baseman, you rely on the other player, let's say a shortstop, to field the ball cleanly, make a good throw in time, strong enough and accurate enough to get the guy out, and he's relying on you to catch it, or she's relying on you to catch it. Teamwork all the way. The other area it comes into play is in the idea of manufacturing runs. So let's say you get a runner on first base to start an inning in a tight game late. Well, no one wants to sacrifice their at bat. There's so few of them. Every one of them is exciting, but right then and there might be the time to lay down a bunt down the third base line to try to get that runner over the second. Or maybe the runner tries to steal second, and then you drop a base bunt down the first base line to get that runner to third. Whatever the case is, that's offensive teamwork, because even though it's not coordinated teamwork in the sense of like a defensive play would be, where two or more players are involved in the play directly. Indirectly, it's teamwork, because what the sacrificer is doing is passing the baton to the batter behind them, right? And sacrificing themselves for the advancement of a broader goal. So seeing the bigger picture in the business I entered through my professor Jerry Condra and his media class, media programming, that was the name of it, is really where I learned my idea for Cave Talk Radio. It's where I developed kind of what I envisioned doing long before we actually went on the air with it. They actually had to write a whole business plan and a whole business proposal. That was like our capstone project in that class. And it was very much like learning to see the big picture, to understand the big picture, and then day to day execute the granular stuff to achieve that big picture. Much like if you're going to make a sacrifice play in baseball or softball, you understand the big picture. We're trying to get this run home to win this game. So right now, in this moment, I have to execute this granular minutiae that maybe I don't want to do, but understanding the big picture, it's what's needed of me right now. So that's a big thing that you learn in sports or the classroom. So this is where the analogy of teaching and coaching that Scott put out there really comes into play, right? You can see the parallels. I'm drawing these parallels. So we're not going to go through a whole 5 of these. But I wanted to kind of continue that conversation because I think it's important to understand. And I think we often sit here and talk about the importance of sports being a field for life lessons and how much you can learn from it and how it can translate. Playing football or another sport can translate to success in the rest of life and business and whatever. And that's all probably true, but I don't think we often enough go into specific examples and draw specific analogies to really illustrate those cliches. So I wanted to kind of capitalize on the door that Scott opened with my commentary today to try to add some of those specifics, add some examples. I'll give one more and then we'll wrap up here. The third would be, so we got understanding the big picture and being prepared and functioning under deadline and under the clock as part of a team. The third thing would be understanding the business you're in. See, I think this is where maybe parents of youth sports could sometimes gain a lesson or two. So when we're going to do this in 2 ways. If you're a professional athlete, you're in the business of entertainment. And I've often been critical of Major League Baseball around this very topic, that their whole push for ruthless efficiency and the absolute best mathematical approach in every instance on the field created a robotic, bland form of baseball that required fairly radical rule changes implemented this year, the pitch clock and the shift and the bigger bags, the main 3, to really kind of quench the stench of, to re-inject entertainment. They had turned an entertainment product of baseball into basically a live action mathematical formula, an expression of mathematical formulae in live action disguised as a sport. It was brutal to watch. It just was. They lost track. They, meaning the front offices, the executives. They're part of the team too, right? They're not players, but they're part of the team. They lost sight of what business they're in. Now, on the youth level, where you see something like this most often is the parents. Why do you think there aren't referees? Why do we have a shortage of referees? A lot of times because parents go to these games and yell at these people. They threaten them sometimes. I'm not talking about anyone specific with any particular organization. I'm talking broadly across the country, right? But we see this. People get mad. They try to live vicariously through their kids. Maybe the kid's 8 years old, 10 years old, 13 years old, whatever he or she is. And they're not remembering what business they're in. At that stage, at the youth level, they are in the learning business. They are learning how to play the sport. They are learning about themselves, what they're good at, what maybe they're not good at, where they fit in socially, how to interact socially with a team, how to be part of a team, how to listen to authority, how to apply a work ethic, developing their own work ethic. They're in a laboratory, right? A proverbial laboratory, a proverbial classroom on the diamond or on the gridiron or on the court, whatever it is. And the parents lose sight of that fact, forgetting that they're kids, forgetting that they're developing, forgetting that they're learning, and going to sort of like, my kid's the next Mickey Mantle or the next Babe Ruth or the next Michael Jordan or whoever. And they forget where the kids are. So my third lesson in college was learning to understand what business I was in. And that's what I learned from Dr. David Moody. When you are in the media business, whether you are on air, whether you're an engineer, whether you're a producer, or whether you're a sales guy, you are in the advertising sales business. That's the business you're in. So understanding how you doing your job can affect positively or negatively the business that you're in, meaning the business to sell more advertising, more valuable advertising, more relevant advertising. Understanding that even if your role doesn't call for the direct sale of that final product goes a long way to how well the machine or the team runs, right? And if you're a athlete, understanding where you are and the purpose of your being there, understanding the big picture, what business you're in the business at the youth level of learning. If you're a professional athlete, you're in the business of producing, of winning, and of entertaining. And everyone involved, whether it's the players, the concession workers, the executives, coaches, everyone should understand that ultimately at its final state, any professional sports team is an entertainment product. And baseball lost sight of that for a long time. They finally figured it out again. So this is something I think Scott inadvertently created an interesting dialogue on the show today. So thank you, Scott. But this is something I think is worth calling out. So this is where youth sports is really important, folks. This is where it really matters because you learn these things. I learned them in college because I didn't play a lot of youth sports. I played a lot of pickup ball, but I didn't have a lot of coaching. How I developed into a decent basketball player was really just through route repetition and just playing a ton. But this is something this is where an athlete has a unfair advantage, a young athlete. If you get coaching at a young age, you can learn a lot of these things at 10, 11, 12 that I had to learn at 21, 22, 23. You could get a 10, 11 year head start, right? And that's huge. And that's why I think this is anecdotal. I can't say this for sure, but we know athletes, collegiate athletes, on average make more money. I'm not talking about athletes that make the pros and get paid. I'm talking about people that maybe played on an athletic scholarship on, say, volleyball or, on track and field or on, a smaller basketball or baseball school. You're not a professional prospect. You're not getting NIL deals. People that just were there on an athletic scholarship but didn't get any other monetary head start. Those people on average earn more money than their non-athlete counterparts. And I believe it's because they learn some of these things and get them to be a part of their day-to-day life sooner and more thoroughly than people who aren't privy to those athletic field or court lessons. That's where I think it happens. And coaching and teaching has everything to do with that. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We got 2 NBA games to talk about. We also got some Mets and Yankees stuff. Anthony Soto at 11:30. It's the Gary Ayd Show rolling on here on The Cave.
Coffee lovers, Middletown is now officially home to the home run of our favorite beverage, Days Coffee. Days patented blend contains approximately 85% less caffeine than other coffees, which makes it better for you, yet unlike decaf coffee, still gives you that great pickup and tastes amazing. Formulated by a retired cancer pathologist, Dr. Grant Lee, Days Coffee is fermented with a patented enzyme that until now required a complex and thus expensive sourcing and production process. With Dr. Lee's formulation, this enzyme's great health benefits can now be brought to your cup quicker, easier, and cheaper than ever before. Here's how you get a hold of this game-changing cup of joe. Go over to radioonlydeals.com and get a $4 gift certificate to Days Coffee for just $2. That's radioonlydeals.com to buy your single-use digital gift certificate for Days Coffee. Radioonlydeals.com. That's radioonlydeals.com. Enjoy the preferred coffee of the Gary Ayd Show. Enjoy Days Coffee.
Do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call. Because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at crazy low prices. They have access to great prices and discounts at over 500 different airlines. Plus 300,000 hotels and rental car companies. Their prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find the best price for you. Call SmartFares today and get ready to see the world with a fat wallet.
800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. That's 800-370-2460.
Come on, you watch the news. Be prepared to pay more taxes. Then if you owe back taxes or haven't filed in a few years, get ready. The IRS, the largest collection agency in the world, will be coming after you with the power to collect taxes by any means they want to. Hey, they can freeze your bank account, your passport, even padlock your business. Oh, good times. Look, if the IRS claims you owe them $5,000 or more in back taxes and they're coming after you, don't panic. Call my friends at Get a Tax Lawyer first. Their job is to negotiate with the IRS and save you money. They're experts at it. That's all they do, and you can trust them. In some cases, they have reduced a $50,000 tax bill to less than $1,000. If you owe the IRS $5,000 or more in back taxes, call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. That's 800-649-8617.
All righty, we're back here on the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave. And a quick little note, Gerald McCoy has retired. The All-Pro has decided, the defensive tackle has decided to call it a career. Made the announcement on social media. 6-time Pro Bowl selection, 9 years with the Buccaneers. So he has retired as a Buck. Had a good career, very good career. And he's decided to move on. So congratulations to him on a great career, and good luck in the next phase of life. That is that. As far as tonight's NBA games, both one game on TNT, one on ESPN, 7 o'clock tip for Miami and Chicago, and a 9:30 tip on ESPN for Minnesota and Oklahoma City. Minnesota and Miami are the respective home teams in this one, and they are playing their rivals for the right to play the Nuggets and the Bucks, respectively. Let's break these games down a little bit. So let's start with the Eastern game. Let's start with Miami and Chicago. I believe Chicago is going to win. I'll say that up front. And here's why. Miami is really good at making free throws. They're really good defensively. But they are so brutal on offense so much of the time. Unless a Kyle Lowry goes crazy, unless Tyler Hero goes nuts, they struggle for large stretches of almost every game to come up with consistent points. And I just think Chicago's wings, the athleticism of DeRozan and Levine, I just think is going to be a lot for Miami to overcome, because those guys I don't think will struggle. I think one of the two of them, I'll say this. Look on your betting apps. I haven't looked at this, so I don't know. But look on your betting apps, and if you could get good odds on both of them to score 30 or more points, don't do it as a parlay, but bet both over 30. One of them is going to do it. If it pays to bet both and win on one, do it, because you will. One of those guys, I'm not sure which one, but one of those guys will score over 30 this game. Guaranteed. And might even push 40, because this is what's going to happen. Jimmy Butler is going to be on one of them, and he may or may not end up in foul trouble, and that may or may not affect his offense. But he can't be on both. Who's guarding the second guy? Is it Bam? Is it Hero? Who is it? Is it Strauss? Is it Martin? Who's guarding the second guy? Because both of those guys are really, really good at initiating contact, at scoring off a quick dribble, at really putting pressure on defenses every time down the court. And I was surprised this year. The more I watched the Bulls, I watched them a number of times this year, and it was amazing to me that their record was so bad. Their statistics look really good. Their matchups are very strong. Caruso adds something to that team. They do miss ball. Their front line can leave something to be desired sometimes, but this is a pretty good team. And it surprises me that they're as mediocre as they are. And I mean, at a certain point, as Bill Parcells would say, you are what your record says you are. But I look at this team as a tough out from a matchup perspective in the playoffs in the East. Now, they're not going to be a tough out for Milwaukee. That's the worst draw for Chicago, right? Because Milwaukee's probably the other team in the conference that has, maybe the only team in the conference that has equal or superior wing athleticism to the Bulls. And then they have everything else too. They're obviously a million times better. But with Patrick Beverley, with Alex Caruso, you got that tenacity in the backcourt. That's a pretty good starting backcourt. Then you have the two great wings with Levine and DeRozan. And then you have an Andre Drummond or whoever to kind of, round it out. I personally believe that with these guys in tow, they are a superior team. I really do believe that. So I think they're going to beat Miami today and move on to play Milwaukee. And I think they're going to be in a lot of trouble against Milwaukee. All right, let's go to the second game. Second game, we got Minnesota and Oklahoma City. Minnesota, I believe, is going to win this game. And here's why. I think Minnesota has, now with Gobert, I'm assuming, back, and you have healthy Towns, as long as Edwards doesn't stink it up again, I just think they have too much for Minnesota, particularly on the front line. I think Gilgeous-Alexander and Giddey will probably outplay the Minnesota backcourt. And it's why I think it's important that Edwards has a representative game. Because if he just plays his normal game and has his average game, the Timberwolves will lose the backcourt matchup. But if Edwards has his average game, they won't get killed in the backcourt. They'll just lose. Whereas I just don't see any way that this Oklahoma City front line doesn't get annihilated by the combination of Towns and Gobert, particularly Towns, who, as I said after their narrow loss to the Lakers in the 7-8 matchup, he played probably the best basketball game I've ever seen him play in his career. Now, I don't know if Gobert being there is going to affect that, but Towns was engaged defensively. He was protecting the rim. He was taking good shots. He wasn't settling for threes and long jumpers all the time. He played great. If he plays like that, even if Gobert doesn't play, I don't think the Thunder can match him in the front court. And then you throw in Gobert keeping some of those driving lanes for Alexander and Giddey closed down. I think this becomes a real tough matchup for Oklahoma City. I think they're going to score only as effectively as their three-point shooting is tonight. I think they're going to have to shoot the lights out from three to have any kind of chance, because I think with that front line, it's going to be a tough time for them to win the shooting percentage battle. I think the Timberwolves will consistently get better, higher percentage shots because of that, and I think Gobert's presence will limit the effective shooting percentage on non-threes for Oklahoma City all night. And then it comes down to just making so many threes that you can overcome those deficits. I don't think they can do that. And I believe as long as Edwards plays okay, the Timberwolves have a little bit too much. And I believe Minnesota will win that matchup and go on to play the Nuggets. All righty. Well, there you have it. That is our NBA breakdown. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. When we do, we'll talk to Anthony Soto of the OC Bombers, the 16U coach. That's next here on the Gary Ayd Show on The Cave.
Are you like me? You have health insurance, but you don't have dental insurance. Do you need to get to the dentist right away? Maybe you need an implant or some other major service. Well, I found a dental insurance plan that's just right for you. It's called Spirit Dental. Spirit Dental offers a $100 lifetime deductible, a huge network of dentists. And here's the best part. There's no waiting periods. Yeah, that means you can call right now and have real dental insurance for you and your family tomorrow and get that immediate coverage you want. Spirit Dental has plans for just a few dollars a day, up to $5,000 annual maximum, and coverage for implants. Whatever age you are, the dental insurance you need is a free phone call away. Now don't wait, and be sure to ask about Spirit's vision plan. Here's the number: 800-631-9229. 800-631-9229. That's 800-631-9229.
Hey friend, life happens and you need money. What do? You call the special toll-free number we're about to give you. We will send you a link to your phone with details on how you can loan up to $5,000. Couldn't you use $5,000 to pay for your rent, pay grocery bills, get your car repaired, or whatever you need? It's up to you. We don't care. We're just here to lend you the money. And we'll lend people money with good, bad, or no credit at all. Of course, some terms and conditions apply, and you'll see those on the link we're going to send you. So if you need up to $5,000 maybe as soon as the next business day, call this number right now. We will text you a free link with details.
Paid for by Money Mutual. Call 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. That's 800-586-7112.
Alrighty, we're back here on the Gary Ayd Show, and it's time now to hear our previously recorded interview with OC Bombers 16U coach Anthony Soto. Here it is. Alrighty, welcome back to the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave. I'm joined by Anthony Soto, the head coach of the 16U team with the OC Bombers. I know you guys, Anthony, start the season much later in terms of the bulk of your schedules after, later in the summer. But right now, I'm sure you guys are doing a decent amount of training and kind of just getting things organized. What's your day look like right now as far as coaching this squad, knowing that most of your games are still to come?
Well, we did a lot of vigorous training over the winter. During the fall, we played a few tournaments. I got to play around with the team and put a lot of different players in different positions, try to take a good look at what we had. And what we needed to work on moving forward. And then as soon as it got cold out, we went inside and the girls trained really, really hard. And basically we got them ready for school ball. That's our goal as coaches. As the girls get older, we prepare them for their next step. which for our girls is varsity. And then in the future would be college. We do some college showcases, which we did one in the fall, and we have a couple coming up in the summer. We do have some scrimmages lined up, and we're looking forward to see how much the girls have developed over the winter and see what we've got to look forward to coming this summer.
Yeah, that's a lot of good stuff. Do you find with training indoors, I'm sure with this group it's probably nothing, but with the younger kids, if you've observed it at all, how is that different from being outside? It's got to be at least initially somewhat of an adjustment.
It is, definitely. The balls definitely bounce off the turf much quicker. They bounce higher. They roll faster and further. But we also play on turf fields. So having that transition from a dirt field to a turf field and being able to train outside and inside definitely helps the girls be prepared for anything that they're going to face in a tournament.
What about as far as the vertical, is there an issue with balls like hitting off ceilings and stuff when you play indoors, like a high fly ball of any kind?
Nope. We have a really well netted area that we practice in. Okay. And we've got a few nets that we can pull tunnels. We can have, I think there's probably 6 or 7 tunnels that we can pull at once and have pitching and hitting all going on continuously. Or you can open the whole thing up, and we even hold scrimmages in there in our facility, minus one outfielder.
That's pretty cool. Now with the older group here, I'm guessing most of them have been part of the organization for quite some time.
Yes, absolutely. We've got, especially with our 16Us and 18U teams, some of these girls have been with the Bombers since, 10, 12U. And that's a long time. I've had the, fortunate ability to join the Bombers organization. Last year was my first year with them. This is my second year. And I basically kept my entire team from last year, added on a few new players, and looking forward to some really exciting games coming up.
Yeah. What's the biggest, I guess, challenge for you as far as coaching a team that, is maybe made up of girls who have been with this organization a long time? You're relatively new. Has there been any kind of, feeling out process? I guess maybe more so last year.
Well, there's always a feeling out process, even as you go throughout the season. Yep. Especially with young ladies at this age, everybody's going through things. Some of them have jobs. Some of them play multiple sports. I've got to be flexible. I've got to learn how to really read my players. My assistant coach tends to call me a player's coach because, he tells me I read them really well and I kind of baby them a little bit. But at the same time, I'm pretty tough on them when it comes to training. But I can really tell when my players are tired, when they're hurt, when something's wrong, or when they're on point.
What's your favorite part about coaching with the Bombers?
Honestly, it's helping these young ladies develop and to accomplish goals that at the start they never thought that they would be able to accomplish. And once they see that they can do it and they see that they can continue to grow and accomplish even more, that's the beauty of it for me, developing the players and even some of our more timid players, bringing out that inner beast in them and teaching them how to really go hard and, take those chances, because in life, if you don't take chances, you're never going to be successful as you want to.
That's a fact. There's this great business saying I love that says, if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time.
Exactly.
So I know you're involved and have been for a while in little league as well. What's the biggest difference between coaching a travel organization and a little league organization for you?
Oh, that's a great question. The biggest difference is the fact that with little league, most of the players only pick up their glove from, I'd say late March, and they put it down around May, early June. When you're coaching a travel team, these girls work year round. And, you know, like I have 2 girls who play for the for the Bombers. One plays for me and one plays for Jason Moore on the 14U squad. And they'll go from a school ball game to a travel practice and then come home and still hit off a tee into the net until they can't see anymore. That's literally how it goes. And with them both playing Little League, they both play school ball, they both do travel. They're on 6 different teams. So, you know.
So what you're telling me is you have tons of spare time to just relax.
Exactly. No,
unbelievable.
Totally committed. We bleed softball and we love the OC Bombers. They've been nothing but great for our entire family. It's just a great group of people who are going towards the same goal. And if you trust the process, like Gina says, then you can be elite, like I say.
There you go. That's right. And last couple of things, Anthony, I'm just curious, at this higher age group, does more of an emphasis, obviously with the younger age group and maybe the middle ages, a lot of focus is based on development, not just skills, but just as people and young women. At this age group, is the focus maybe a little bit more, I don't want to say cutthroat, but a little bit more competitive and maybe a little bit more specialized in terms of where people are playing and how often people play? Does that become a little bit more tight at this level?
Absolutely. And that tends to get tough, especially, you know, for me as a coach. I love all my girls and I hope that they could all be as successful as I want them to be. But that, you know, truth of the matter, that's not humanly possible. So I definitely have to, I'm straight up with the girls. I let them know, listen, the best players are going to play. Everybody plays on Saturday on a tournament. Everybody gets to bat. But come Sunday when we're playing for the championship, then the best girls are going to be out there. And thankfully, all of my girls know and understand that, and they're willing to, you know, play whatever role that the team needs them to play.
How much, last thing here, how much intel do you have going into a tournament on the opponent usually?
Well, that's a funny question because it depends on how much research you want to do. Honestly, you know, my wife is the team mom, and she's, you know, hands-on and 100% all in. She sets up the tournaments and hotel stays and stuff like that. But she'll jump on Facebook pages, she'll Google teams, and, you know, we search for their records, and we have an app called Game Changer, and we get to, you know, we can scout other teams through that, because if you pay for it, you know, you get to see stats. And if you're looking to do homework on teams, the information's out there. You know, it's the beauty of the internet. So we do our due diligence, and we definitely have a good heads up on what we're facing and what we're looking at as far as opponents.
That's pretty cool. Well, you guys, I guess, are pretty much in practice in scrimmage mode. When do you guys really ramp up?
As soon as school ball is over, we're all in. We've got a total of 6 tournaments set for this summer, including nationals in Maryland. Our first tournament will be June 10th, and then we have another one on the 17th. Those are 2-day tournaments, and then in July we're fully loaded. You're going to hear a lot of interesting stories from the girls when you get to interview them once they get going.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a lot of fun. That'll be this summer. Well, best of luck prepping for the season, and have a good rest of your day. Thanks for spending some time with us today.
Excellent. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. That's Anthony Soto. This is the Gary Ayd Show. Back after this here on The Cave.
Are you like me? You have health insurance, but you don't have dental insurance. Do you need to get to the dentist right away? Maybe you need an implant or some other major service. Well, I found a dental insurance plan that's just right for you. It's called Spirit Dental. Spirit Dental offers a $100 lifetime deductible, a huge network of dentists. And here's the best part. There's no waiting periods. Yeah, that means you can call right now and have real dental insurance for you and your family tomorrow and get that immediate coverage you want. Spirit Dental has plans for just a few dollars a day, up to $5,000 annual maximum, and coverage for implants. Whatever age you are, the dental insurance you need is a free phone call away. Now don't wait, and be sure to ask about Spirit's vision plan. Here's the number: 800-631-9229. 800-631-9229. That's 800-631-9229.
Hey friend, life happens and you need money. What do? You call the special toll-free number we're about to give you. We will send you a link to your phone with details on how you can loan up to $5,000. Couldn't you use $5,000 to pay for your rent, pay grocery bills, get your car repaired, or whatever you need? It's up to you. We don't care. We're just here to lend you the money. And we'll lend people money with good, bad, or no credit at all. Of course, some terms and conditions apply, and you'll see those on the link we're going to send you. So if you need up to $5,000 maybe as soon as the next business day, call this number right now. We will text you a free link with details.
Paid for by Money Mutual. Call 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. That's 800-586-7112.
Oh, this is fun stuff. So I'm seeing during the break here, Tiki Barber going on and saying how Buck Showalter's old school managing is hurting the Mets. And then a fan, I see this on a social channel, leaves this comment that I think is so spot on, and he's getting a lot of kudos and upvotes for it. He says Tiki didn't play baseball; he played football. He also didn't take to old school Tom Coughlin and his rules, so he retired. Giants won the Super Bowl the following season, so there is that. And I was like, you know what? Owned. Good job. I mean, Tiki, shut up. Stop. Buck Showalter's hurting the Mets. No, the Mets being broken is hurting the Mets. The World Baseball Classic having been played and Diaz being in it is hurting the Mets. Justin Verlander pulling his armpit. How? That's hurting the Mets. The stupid Darren Ruff trade. Thank you, Billy Epler. That's hurting the Mets. Buck Showalter's not the problem. He's part of the solution. Buck Showalter is one of the great managers in all of baseball. He's one of the only managers that actually matters. That's not the problem. You could not be more off base with this. That is absolutely stunning to me. It really is. Anyway, good job. Good job by the fans to call out Tiki on his idiocy. So good stuff. All right, let's take a look at Yankees and Mets. The Yankees absolutely clobbered Minnesota yesterday. I think it was 11-2. Total beatdown. I believe it was Minnesota. And let's see what we got in action tonight. Let's take a quick look. See. We mentioned the Bulls and the Heat. We mentioned the Timberwolves and the Thunder. So 2 NBA games tonight. As far as local baseball, let's see what we got here. Yankees are hosting the Twins. Yep, so they beat the snot out of them yesterday. This game is at Yankee Stadium. Yankees are prohibitive favorites, -172. Not a big surprise there. They got pitching tonight. Nestor Cortez, opposed by Louis Varland. And as far as some guys to look at in this one, Aaron Judge is 1-for-2 lifetime against Garland with a home run. Oswaldo Cabrera has faced him 3 times, not gotten a hit. 2 times for Gleyber Torres, also no hits. So not a lot of experience among this Yankee lineup against this right-hander today. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, the Yankee lineup, the Minnesota lineup has a lot of experience against Cortez. Total, they've faced him a whole bunch of times. Few guys have faced him 4, 1, 5, 2, 7. Guys that have hit him pretty well are Byron Buxton, 2-for-4 with a home run. Looks like Christian Vasquez also is hitting pretty good, 3 for 7 with 2 RBIs, and Michael Taylor as well, 3 for 7. So a few guys have hit him pretty well. Look, this is a game that I think Minnesota is just owned by the Yankees. If there's one matchup in baseball that is laughably one-sided over a long period of time, it is the Yankees and Twins. The Twins could be great. The Yankees could be terrible, which really doesn't happen. But even when the Twins are really good, and they're really good right now, they're 9-4 to start the year. The Yankees are a game worse at 8-5. Whenever the Twins play the Yankees, I assume they get crushed because for whatever reason, the Yankees just beat them and beat them and beat them and beat them. It's always been that way. Very interesting. This is a low over-under today of 8. So Vegas isn't expecting a ton of runs today. That number makes me nervous. Like, you always wonder, what do they know that I don't know? Why are they saying that? Because these are two teams that score a lot of runs. I know the Twins didn't score many runs yesterday, but the Yankees scored enough to cover this over-under plenty by themselves with 11, right? So that number makes me nervous. I want to bet the over. Like, that looks like a tempting bet, but it almost looks like a sucker bet at the same time. Like they're dangling it out there, trying to get you to make the bet, and then they're gonna pull the rug from under you. I just get a weird feeling about that. So I'm probably gonna leave that alone. If I bet anything in this game, I'm probably gonna bet a two-pronged parlay, maybe the Yankees to win and Judge to hit a home run or something like that to get a decent amount of return. If I bet this game at all, but I'm a little leery. Rays 13-0. I believe that ties a modern Major League record. So they go for the modern record tonight against the 8-5 Blue Jays in Toronto. Rays coming in, as I mentioned, with 13-0 record. They will have Drew Rasmussen on the mound versus Jose Barrios for the Blue Jays. And the Rays lineup has done very well against Barrios. At least a couple of members have. Specifically Manuel Margot, who's 4 for 10 lifetime, and Randy Arozarena, 4 for 8 lifetime. A few other guys have had some success, including Harold Ramirez, 3 for 11. That's not great, but it's not terrible. Wander Franco has not had much success, just 1 of 5 against Barrios, and Yandy Diaz, just 2 for 9. He actually has the second most at bats, third most at bats against him. So a lot of experience. Brandon Lowe is 0 for 5. So a lot of experience against Barrios. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, Drew Rasmussen pitching for the Rays, and George Springer is just 1 of 10 against them. Bo Bichette just 3 of 17. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., much better, 5 of 17, but still not great. So really no one in this lineup with a lot of at-bats has done anything against Rasmussen. You have Alejandro Kirk, just 2 for 11. Matt Chapman, 1 for 10. I mean, this is bad news. If there's a game that you think the Rays are going into that they're likely to win, this is the one. So this is the game they lose, right? Because it's just how it goes. But no, this game looks really good for the Rays. Jays don't hit this particular pitcher well. Rays are playing, obviously, amazing baseball. Funny enough, they don't have a great margin. They're favored, but just ever so slightly, -123. The Blue Jays are at +104. They have set the over-under here at 9. I'm probably going the under and the Rays here. I don't think the Blue Jays are going to score a ton of runs. And I do believe that the Rays will score some, but not a lot either. I expect this game to be about 4-2, 5-3, something like that, under 9. So I'm going to go ahead and go with the Rays to get the W plus the under. And as for my Mets, let's see my Mets. By the way, the Angels are 7-5. They have a winning record. Oh my goodness, what's going on? Orioles playing the White Sox. Don't care too much about that. Braves are playing the Royals. Okay, let's go see what that's all about. Not. The heck with that game. Where are my Mets? Here we go. The Mets. in Oakland, taking on the Athletics. It's time to get fat and happy. Mets, big time favorites, minus 203. No surprise there. Oakland stinks. And there's going to be no one there to witness it. Make sure you have some type of way of verifying that this game actually took place, Major League Baseball. No one's going to be there. It's in Oakland, right? There's like 10 people that go to these games. My goodness. All kidding aside, that is a disaster. There's been a bunch of games. There was a post, I think early this week or late last week, that showed a list of, I think it was 10 AAA games that outdrew all of the A's games this year, all of their home games. Just embarrassing. Or most of their home games. It might have been like save for a couple, but this is an embarrassing thing. This team draws like a AAA team, basically, is what it amounts to. Just embarrassing. And you wonder how much of it's on purpose and how much is just, from years of basically playing that Moneyball garbage. But anyway, this is a game you want the Mets to win. You expect them to win. No experience going up against the pitcher here. I believe he's probably just a young pitcher. That's why. Either way, the Mets have Sengai on the hill today. He's looked really good in his first couple of starts. I've liked his game a lot. He's been a bright spot to the Mets, who have otherwise been up and down to start the year. They're just 7-6. We mentioned the injuries before. No, it's not Buck Showalter, Tiki Barber. Nice try to go with the hot take, but no, that's not right. I'm going to go ahead and say the Mets find a way to win this game pretty convincingly. Over under is 8. I'd be surprised if this was under. I think the Mets are going to score some runs tonight. Don't be surprised if the Mets score more than that 8 all by themselves. I'm going the over, and you got to go with the Mets, but you lose so much money here. Maybe just bet the over and just leave it alone if you're going to bet this game. Because of the lack of history, it's hard to do any type of prop bet either. So maybe you go Sengai to have 5 or more strikeouts. Maybe that's the ticket if you want to do a prop bet. That's probably what I would do. So there you have it. Other games in baseball today, just to give you a quick rundown of what there is to watch in case you're interested in anything out of town. Today's out of town schedule is as follows. You have Arizona in Miami. That's Madison Bumgarner versus Trevor Rogers. You have Philadelphia at Cincinnati. Taijuan Walker, former Met, versus Connor Overton, San Francisco travels to Detroit to take on the Tigers. And that is Sean Mania versus Joey Wentz. You have the Cleveland Indians. No, they're not the Guardians. They're the Indians taking on the Washington Nationals. And then you have the Minnesota Twins versus the Yankees. We talked about that one. Tampa versus Toronto, same thing. Boston is hosting the Dodgers. Patrick Sandoval versus Tanner Houck. And then you have Tyler Wells and Mike Clevenger in the battle of Baltimore and the White Sox. White Sox are at home. Atlanta travels to Kansas City to take on the Royals. And you have Charlie Morton versus Brady Singer in that one. Martin Perez and Luis Garcia in the battle of Texas and Houston. So a intrastate rivalry with Houston hosting. St. Louis Cardinals are hosting the Pittsburgh Pirates. John Ovidio versus Jake Woodford. And then you have the Mets and the A's. We mentioned that one. San Diego is hosting Milwaukee. Good luck, Jack George. And then you have Justin Steele, Noah Syndergaard dueling for Chicago and the Dodgers, respectively, that being the Cubs. Dodgers are at home. And lastly, Colorado travels to Seattle to take on the Mariners. Austin Gomber versus Marco Gonzalez. So there you have it. That is the games for tonight. We'll see how it all plays out. Good stuff this week. Good job by Anthony Soto and friends. Good job by Jason, Scott, everyone associated with the Bombers and the Smash, respectively. It was a lot of fun. We'll see you again next week. This is the Gary Ayd Show. Enjoy the rest of your weekend here on The Cave.